what I want to do is read these off for you numerically first, just so you get an idea. And then I have some other ones that I want to read for you. My hot chocolate one.
I forgot at this time. I'm so sorry.
I brought my own. I'm so glad. I am a state licensed marriage and family therapist in the state of California. And I do therapy as most of my primary job. But I'm also an ordained pastor through the denomination that I work at. And so when I try to do this without any bias, and this is really about really understanding your engagement with other people and really who you are and how you identify yourself. But what I did was I brought some responses because from the pastors that I work with, because we did this staff meeting, and the senior pastor used to let me do these kind of things with the staff, and they always moan and groan, but they participated anyway. And so I'm going to read some of their responses, and after I read your responses, you can kind of get an idea, of even what the people who are trying to help you actually struggle with as well. So these are the numbers. Remember, 0 is not at all, and 100 is completely. And how much you like yourself when you're just thinking about yourself. 5, 85, 95, 60, 70, 85, 50, 75, 83, 50, 75, 85, 87, 90, 79, 80, 50, 70, 70, 75, 80, and 89. So that's for everybody who's sitting in this room. Okay. So now I'm gonna read these ones off. These are from the pastors. And it's funny because when I did this, I said, look, I want you. We all sit in a big brown, circle. And I said, look at each other. These are the answers that those of you in this classroom gave. That there's people all over the spectrum. 98, 70, 85.4, 62, 75, 30, 110, 70, 70, 85, 65, and 79. And so hopefully that helps you understand that no matter where you are and what you're working with, your sense of self can be variable. And the goal here is to really focus on what makes those variations and how you feel about yourself and how you label yourself, and then how you react to others. And so some of the words, and I'm not going to have you slot these because they're usually more positive. These are the words that you use to describe yourself. Okay? Smart, thoughtful, creative, an old soul, friendly, creative, loyal and respectful, growing, changing, compassionate, anxious, people pleaser, optimistic, thoughtful, helpful, quiet, thoughtful, good smile, creative, caring, hardworking, outgoing, positive, steady, determined, positive, learning, determined, friendly, sensitive, loving, funny, mellow, compassionate, fearful, shy, kind, outgoing, determined, analytical, rational, lost, and confused. And so you have a lot of determined people in here, which is really awesome to hear. But I think that if you look at the difference between how you actually label yourself, and most of those are positive in comparison to the number that you gave yourself. Is there a discrepancy between those? And then what would it take to get you to be 100? What really would there have to be to get you to be 100? So the last part in the end of all this that I want you to think about is what you get to choose about yourself. There is a truth about who you are, and then there is what culture says you are. And you get to decide what you're going to believe about yourself. So culture is anything from media, family, school, neighbors, anything that's outside of you that you live with. Or that your uniqueness is valuable. And you really believe that your uniqueness is valuable, who you are, just in and of yourself is valuable? Or do you judge yourself against culture? And so that's what I really want you to think about when you're choosing to believe. So, then we'll go on to purpose. And a lot of people have a difficult time with purpose. So I'll read these. To make sure that my children are always safe and taken care of physically and emotionally. Model creativity. Help others. To do the best I can be and to provide in any way for my family. A vessel for love. To make a difference for the better. To help people. To teach my children how to be kind, caring people and how to spread that to their children and the people around them. To fill the world with colorful paintings and to help people and animals through my art. To love God with all my heart, strength, soul, and mind, and to love my neighbors as myself, specifically to help others who are hurting in the world. Becoming someone. Being remembered as someone important. Raise my children to support my family. To help others. To positively impact others' lives. To live out God's plan for me, whatever that may be. To help others. To help others. Give love fully to others. Cause as least amount of harm as possible to others. Serve God. Make a difference in the world, even if it's a slight change. Live as long as possible and have no regrets. To find my true self. So what do you think about that? And so I asked the same question to all pastors. So a lot of these you're going to roll your eyes at because they're all pretty much the same. But I asked them, I said, so what is your purpose? To give the hope of Jesus to others. To serve the Lord as He created me to do so. To be a light in the darkness. Pointing to Jesus. Helper. Love more. Glory to God. Worship. Serve Christ. To glorify God with my life. To live in love for Him. Mother to children, that was the one variable. To glorify God in everything I do. To honor God is all I do. Please God, serve, do God's will, glorify God, love God, love others, glorify God, love others. And then the last one said, be real. And that was the one that I picked for the winner. Because I think that if we are actually able to be our real selves, that is our purpose. The purpose of creativity and of uniqueness is diminished if we try to be somebody else or try to live up to somebody else's standards. Your purpose is to be real. And so I actually, when I read those out loud to everybody in the group, I said, this is the winner, be real. And I went back to my office and, because we're milling around and somebody comes up and knocks on my door and he says, be real. I said, yeah, pretty good, huh? He goes, that was mine. And it was the youngest person in the room. He was 21. And you think about that. He got it. That I can serve and do and serve and do and serve and do, but if I'm not real, it doesn't matter. And so my challenge for you is, can you know yourself well enough and appreciate yourself well enough to be who you really are in the world and learn how to appreciate that? And that's where, when you talk about being assertive, to being able to express that, feeling confident enough about yourself to express who you really are, your needs and wants and desires, and know that there's value in that. And the more you see value in yourself, the more you're going to be able to stand up for who you are and speak openly about your needs and desires. So, what is the purpose of assertiveness? Teachers here.
They all know the answer.
And last time I was here, she made me go around the room and maybe everybody answered. I really don't want to do that to you, so
Stand up for what you believe.
stand up for what you believe. Okay. What else?
To tell people how you're feeling without putting them down.
Okay. Telling people how you feel without putting them down.
Being respectful to yourself and to others.
Okay. Mutual respect. Equality. Treat other people the way you would like to be treated. Okay. Now, when you think about how you would like to be treated, how many of you can actually treat other people that way? Can you actually reach out beyond yourself and actually do that? Oftentimes, we tend to be intimidated, and we actually treat people better than what we expect to be treated. That's typically the So my answer is to speak the truth about your wants and needs. And that's asserting yourself. You're speaking the truth about your wants and needs. And so that's not getting your wants and needs or forcing your wants and needs, but it's just speaking the truth about your wants and needs. And so then what keeps you from being honest, even with yourself?
Fear.
Fear of
Rejection.
rejection. Okay. What else?
Other people's judgments.
Other people's judgments. What else?
Not fitting in.
Not fitting in. So those are all cultural issues. That even you can be dishonest with yourself because of social pressure. And so, again, to really understand who are you, and if you had to define who you are, you have a lot of adjectives about the way you relate to the world, and determination, helping others, caring, that kind of stuff. But who are you really? Do you know who you are? How many of you can with sure confidence say, I know who I am? Full house. So the rest of you, which is all of us, well, I read this book and it said, how do you define yourself? Do you call yourself, well, like for myself, my name. My name's Elaine. Well, that's my name. Well, I'm a pastor, I'm a counselor. Well, those are my jobs. Well, I'm a female. That's my gender. This is where I live. This is where I work. But who am I? How do I know who I am? And the same for you. How do you get to know yourself? How do you really know yourself well enough to then be able to assert yourself? Because if you don't know yourself, then you can't assert yourself. And that's where a lot of the external pressure gives way, because we think we have to please everybody else. We have to fit in. We have to avoid rejection. We have to do these things to help maintain our own self-worth. So I use this example, and it's not a fun example, but it works. I want you to imagine that for whatever reason, from the neck down, you can't move. Okay, from the neck down, you can't move, and you're in a wheelchair. And you can hear everything that I'm saying, you can understand everything that I'm saying, you can see, but you're not speaking, which is pretty much the way you are right now. Do you have any value? If that were true about you, do you have any value? How many of you would say no? Okay. How many of you are sure? Okay. And how many say yes? Okay. So, the part that's inside of you, that's listening to me right now, that makes you different than the person next to you, is who you really are. Because we can change our hair color, we can change all sorts of that, we can all wear the same clothes, we can do all sorts of stuff, but you will never be the person sitting next to you. Ever. And that person that's inside is the real you. And so I ask people in counseling, especially people who are very concerned about doing for others, that their self-identity is about doing for others, that question, do you have any value in that moment of time? And they'll often say no. And then I'll say, so if you have, and I ask them if you have a neighbor, a friend, a child, or somebody, and they got hit by a car, and they were in a wheelchair, and they can hear everything that you say, they can understand everything that you say, they can see you, but they can't speak, would they have any value? And I'm like, oh yeah, well, of course. Well, why? Well, because they're my kids, or my neighbor, or they're just a child, or they impart value because of the person inside. And so what I'm challenging you to do is to impart value to yourself because of who you are on the inside. Anybody with me? Okay. And so that's probably the example that I use the most often. And that even works for twins, because you can have identical twins, and even though they might say a lot of things the same and do a lot of things, they are not the same person. And if you're around them long enough, you'll know who's who. And so the wheelchair example helps us with that. The person that's inside, that keeps that twin not being that twin, even though they're so similar. which means if you went out of your way to be everything that culture wanted you to be, and you were perfect and you fit in and you were everything, you still would be you. You would just have the outside appearance and things that would make you fit in the way others want you to fit in. Okay, what would wholeness look like if you were freed from all of this and you knew yourself, you were self-confident, and not arrogant, and there's a difference. You're self-confident, you're assured of yourself. Can you envision that? And what would that look like for you? What's the first kind of words that come to mind?
Happy.
Happy, okay. What else?
Confident.
Confidence.
Excited.
Excited.
Secure.
Secure. Does that give you, I'm sorry?
Stress-free.
Stress-free. Does it give you a good feeling inside? Yes.
My thought on it is that we spend so much time focusing on ourselves and what's wrong with us and what's dealing with ourselves. That once we reach that point, it might be that feeling of, well, what now?
Well, one of the people, the last time I did this class, the first thing somebody said was boring. It would be boring, you know, there's no challenge left, you know, I'm so used to this. But that's a good point. When you reach a point of self-confidence, you then no longer have to think about yourself. You can then actually think about other people in a healthy way. And when I do marriage counseling, I always say it's not 50-50. It's 100-100. You need to be 100% healthy going into a relationship so that you can give to your spouse. And if you are not 100% going into that relationship, you are sucking it out of your spouse. And so you have to be healthy. And when you get to that place, then you go when you can give to others without the concern of, am I doing the right thing, is the right way, the right, all that kind of stuff. One of my favorite things to ask is, what is your favorite color? So everybody tell me all at the same time, what's your favorite color?
Yeah.
Okay, well, you're all wrong. I mean, well, honestly, is there any wrong, can you have a wrong favorite color? But everybody here is entitled to have their own favorite color. And so, if I said, well, you know, you have to change that because that's just not proper, it would be silly. But there's no rationale behind your favorite color. You just like it. And that's okay. And that's part of the self-expression, to be able to say, I have my favorite animal. Well, you can't have that as a favorite animal. The expression of self comes out in those kind of unique ways that I don't think that we qualify as ourselves. We minimize that. So my favorite color is blue, who cares? Well, it's important for you to really know yourself. And if you want to go down the vein of how do I get to know myself, those are the kind of questions that you ask yourself. And all of those other kind of icebreaker type of questions, you know, is find somebody who does this or knows this or whatever. Ask those questions about yourself. I have this 4-page sheet that has all these questions on it, and it says, what is your favorite color? If you could have 3 wishes, what would they be? What's your favorite food? What's your favorite this, that, and the other? And it's literally single-spaced 4 pages. And I will hand that to adults, and they will take it home and bring it back week after week after week without it being completed because they're stressing so bad about what's the right answer. I just don't know, or they just don't know themselves. They've been so neglected personally and emotionally and intellectually that they don't know themselves, and so they actually stress about how come I don't know this answer? What's wrong with me that I don't know this answer? And I tell them, if I had a 4-year-old in here and I said, I'm going to say goat, and we went through all those questions, they'd be done in about 5 minutes. Favorite color, blue. Favorite food, pizza. Favorite pet, dog. You know, just all the way through. Because at the younger age, we don't have all the social pressures and all those things of are we saying and doing the right thing at the right time, for the right reasons, to fit in at the right place, to get our needs met. Okay. Does anybody have any questions so far? Yes.
You said about being 100% going into a relationship, but are we ever really 100%? So there's always like things that, I mean, how do you be 100%? Like,
Well, what I believe is that you are responsible to with the amount of intelligence that you have, the amount of wisdom, the amount of information that you have. And if you've integrated that information to be the person that you know is the best that you can be, then that's all you can do. Everybody has possibilities for growth, but if there's an area that you know you need growth in and you're not personally pursuing that area, then you know you're not 100%. But if you've gone through your life and looked at everything that you have and have personally pursued healing in those areas, then that's when I would consider you to be 100%. It would be arrogant, obviously, for me to say, well, I'm not 100%, what's wrong with you, I mean, but I think that the fallacy that you can never be there is what continues the chronicity of low self-esteem. You're never going to be good enough. You're never going to be just quite good enough. And so we never get to the place where we can just relax and be ourselves and say, hey, and I used to say this, and I don't say it much anymore because I actually kind of said it kind of rudely, but I used to say, I like me, and if you don't, take it up with God because He made me. But then I realized I was kind of I used to say it kind of out of defense rather than I really believed it. And then when I got to the place where I actually liked myself and could say I like myself, and yeah, there's people who don't like me, and they'll tell you so. And there's people who do like me. And I said this last time too, that if I ran for president, you'd find things about me that would disgust you, because that's what their job is to dig up every little thing that they can find. But I can say to you today that I am not who I used to be, and I can walk in the truth of that I am not who I used to be, and that I have purposely gone out of my way to search truth for myself and then live and walk in that every day. And so, yes, there's places in my life you can point back to and say, what about that, and they're not good. But I know that that's not the person that I am today, and I have to live with that and live in the current now and stay present